Yo guys, it's One Angry Mo from Nerd Alert Reviews. It's been a long time since I did a review for you guys, and today I thought I would do the Sideshow Obi Wan Kenobi premium format exclusive. I just got this one. I thought we would go over it together, and I would give you my honest opinion on what I think about it. So we're going to go over the cost, the realism, the resale value, the ease of the setup, and whether it's a pass or a buy. I eliminated the wife factor because that's not really important anymore. She basically lets me get whatever I want. So that's been eliminated from the review. And at the end again, we'll go over whether this was a good buy or whether I should have passed on it. So here's the brown shipping box. We got Sideshow Collectibles, Ben Kenobi, premium format. It's exclusive. I guess most of these, and probably all of them, are made in China. It's 227 exclusive edition out of 500. And I do like the box format these days. They're pretty nice and compact and lightweight. For those of you that collect the Prime 1 Batman statues, I mean, those are just back-breaking 50-pound huge things, and so this was easy to deal with. Here is the art box after we unbox it from the brown shipping box, and you can see on the front he has his hand ready in a pose that you can. He's about to take out his lightsaber and do a strike. You can either do it with this pose or with his lightsaber out, and I'm probably going to do the lightsaber out because I like that kind of pose too. Nice compact box, and on the back, another pose. I think this is from that cantina scene in Star Wars where he runs into those two thugs, kind of like the seedy bars in Chicago. I guess you can find thugs like that anywhere in Chicago, so you may want to carry a lightsaber there. Here's the styrofoam box that is within the art box, and it's surrounded by this layer of tape. Usually I just take the whole tape off, so it makes it easier for me to open up the box and get all the pieces out and start setting things up. I know like some of you like to keep the tape when you resell it on eBay, and that's really nice. And on the front you can see the Sideshow quality seal. It actually has a warning on it, which is really interesting. It's like warning, proceed with caution, put your statue together with caution. I don't know necessarily what that means. I don't know if it means that the thing is so heavy if you drop it you'll break your foot. I don't know if it means when you're setting up a lightsaber it could poke your eyeball out. So just heed the warning and just be cautious. Okay, so I'm just going to take my scissors and make a little incision here, and the tape pretty much comes off pretty easily, and I just kind of rotate it around and take the whole thing off. I might save it for later, but I probably don't need it. Alright, so we're going to remove this tape. And again, it comes off pretty easily. And nice and careful. Okay, so far we're safe. No accidents have happened. So I'm going to put this tape away for a second, and we'll lift off the lid. And this should come off pretty easily. Alright, and there we go. Okay, I think I might have unboxed it upside down, which is, yeah, the arms are up here and the blaster is up here for the exclusive version, and I think I just kind of put it upside down. I'm going to put it back and flip it over, which is really strange because the Sideshow label on the box, which had the warning label on it, was actually right side up. It was fine, so you would think that the label facing upwards would be the way the box should be open, but I am incorrect. So I'm just going to line this up, put it back over, and just carefully flip it over. Make sure you don't do the same mistake I did. I mean, just do it the right way. So I want to hold this together, sandwich it real tight. And oh yeah, this side says a Sideshow, so that's what you want to look for when you're unboxing this. That would be the right side up. And there we go. That's much better. It was upside down the other way. So here you can see the base, the figure. You got some arms and the portrait. There's lightsaber in there. The base actually looks pretty cool. I can see it through the plastic already, and it's got this great. I think I want to like the base for sure. You know how I felt about the K2SO base. It was kind of just bland and boring. But so far this looks nice and tidy and looks pretty unique. So I move this over here. Let's go ahead and start removing the pieces. So what we'll do as usual is we'll start with the base and take that one off first. And I'll just grab it here. Oh yeah, it's pretty heavy. Whew, man, that's nice and firm and solid. Again, I think I'm going to like it. It's got all these nice details on it, like sand and dirt on this grate. Here's a couple of those bags. You got to be careful with those. You don't want your kids to get into them and accidentally swallow one. There's some pipes underneath the ground. And then look at the detail on that. Wow, pretty nice. Makes me feel like I'm in that seedy bar full of galactic gangsters. In the back, here we got the writing with, oh, there's Obi Wan, 227 out of 500. There's that, must be that Tatooine town. And then it's got, oh, it's got the two suns or moons of Tatooine. I don't think I would like living on Tatooine. I think I would give it a few days and I'd probably be like, get me off this planet. I mean, I don't know, there wouldn't be much to do there, I think. Just get dirt and sand in your eyes and, I don't know, not, and then shoot some womp rats or something. I think it would be kind of, that's all you could really do. So we'll get the torso out next and place it on the base. So I'm just going to put my wind down for a second and reach far across here. And grab him by the leg. Okay, so I'm going to lift him out of the container. It's got one of those silicone bags again. Just be careful with those things in kids. I usually just throw them right back in the box immediately and keep counting them. You don't want one laying on the ground accidentally. So we'll take him out of the bag, nicely finished. This item doesn't have that unique Sideshow smell anymore. It doesn't have that nice paint smell like some of my other statues did. Let's just throw that on the ground there. But nonetheless, and I'm just going to unravel it because it's all wrapped up. A lot of cloth, and it's got those wire things inside the robe to like manipulate it. I know a lot of you guys probably like those wires so you can manipulate the clothing into whatever you'd like to, make it look into your design that you'd like to, but I'm not a big fan of them. I don't have time and energy for manipulating wires, and I'm not like a clothes designer that I can just figure out how somebody should look in their clothing. I don't have time and energy for that. That definitely feels a little feminine to me. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is place him right in the base, and you just have to wiggle his foot in a little bit. I'm just going to check the peg and make sure I'm doing it the right direction. Yes, I am. Kind of looks like a Jawa right now, or maybe even one of those monsters from that Fred Savage movie where they shoot the monsters with light beams of light and they become nothing but clothing. That's what kind of reminds me of. But let's go for the arms next, and we'll put in the right arm first that holds the lightsaber. I want to do the lightsaber pose. I don't want it where he's about to strike. Because if we're going to use exclusive guy's severed arm with his lightsaber, or I'm sorry, the severed arm with the blaster on the ground, then we would want him in a pose where he's about to where he's done using his lightsaber and he's about to put it back. So here is the right arm, and this is the one that's going to be holding the lightsaber. You've known in my previous reviews, I'm always kind of weirded out by Sideshow fingers, but this one actually looks pretty detailed. It does look like an elderly man's hand. Lots of veins, and it looks like it's just been used. And he's got little indentations actually on his thumb, as if he was holding something, so I think it looks pretty realistic. And I guess you just slide it up here in the sleeve of the arm. There were no directions with this box, so I'm just going based on what's in the box and my experience using and putting together our other Sideshow statues. But this one did not come with any particular instructions. So based on previous statues I've had, I guess you just wiggle up here with that key in the arm and try to get into the shoulder joint. I'm not very good at doing things like this, and you have to be careful that you don't drop this arm because I'm pretty sure you could break a piece off. So yeah, and there's a lot of clothing you have to go through. There's the robe, that brown robe that he's wearing. There's the tan, I don't know what you call that thing, like a tunic or semi-robe. And then he's got this brown undervest underneath all that too. And you have to go through all these three clothes to get up here into this arm. And this is actually a lot more difficult than it looks, because I guess you probably need to wiggle your finger in here and just see it and put it in and then put the clothing back. Okay, so what I did was I skipped ahead here and just went to the left arm. I got the right arm in, It's not for the faint of heart. It's actually very difficult. And again, you have to go through a lot of clothing, wiggle things up, and you can't really see anything. My advice would be to put your fingers in both sides through the clothing so you can actually see everything. You have to kind of take off some of the clothing to see it. Not necessarily take off, but move things aside to get it in there. And I almost, putting the other arm in, I almost dropped the other arm because it wasn't in all the way. So you have to make sure that both the keys are in and they're not pinching clothing, because if they're pinching some of the clothing, it's not in all the way and it'll just come right out. So here I'm going to go ahead and put the left arm in. Same thing, very hard. I have to wiggle it around. I have to get it up there. And honestly, I don't even know what position this arm goes in without seeing the key. So here I'm going to try to take off the inner tunic robe thing so I can actually see the key. And if this takes me a second, I'll pause it again and come back to you guys. Okay, so I went ahead and put both arms in. If I had kept this recording, it would have taken like all day. And I had to manipulate the robe a lot. And you can see how his scarf thing is off his neck, and we'll just have to readjust that later. This is the blaster that came with it, with the exclusive version. And this would be the severed arm of that one guy who was making trouble in the bar. I believe his name is Ponda Baba. I think that's how you pronounce it. You know, with a name like that, you probably should get your arm severed anyway. Here you can see inside there's actually 2 bones and 2 bone marrows, which is interesting. So that must be the ulnar and the radius that have been severed, with the marrow in the middle. A lot of meat around there, and there's actually blood splattered around the outside. So let's see, I think I'll put that on the base somewhere. It belongs here. So I'll just put it down here for right now and put it on the base later after I get him all set up, because his robe is all over the place and it's taking up too much room. So I'll just put the arm and the blaster down by his side for right now until I complete the statue. As you can see in the box, there's still an extra arm, which I'm not going to be using, but that's the one where he looks like he's about to strike. I'll fix the clothing later. It was such a pain with the arms. I just hope the arms just don't fall out. Again, just make sure there's no clothing pinched on the sides, because if you do that, it's not going to fit in right and it'll just fall out when you pick up the statue or to place it in your bookshelf or your cabinet, etc. Let's move on to the portrait. I usually like Sideshow portraits. They're pretty amazing in detail and they look so realistic. And this one is no exception. Look at that. It's pretty awesome. I don't know how they get the eyes to look like that, but it looks so real. So he looks pretty steady and stern in his facial expression. He's actually got some age spots. I guess he's got too much sun. His hair is nice and painted. Nice details. Look at that. Wow. I don't know how they do it. So it doesn't come with 2 portraits. Some statues come with 2. We'll just put this one in there. Just make sure it's all lined up, and this might be a little bit difficult again because he's got so much clothing on. You got to push this back. He's got the. So I'll slip this in here. We'll fix up all the clothing later. I'm really not a big fan of all this clothing stuff. I kind of like the Mythos statue better because that just came as one big solid piece, and you just added a few attachments, and that was it. And this is just clothing, and I'm not very good at dressing somebody else, not even my baby. But the same thing applies here. Just make sure you're not pinching the clothing, because if you do, and the key's not into the socket right for his head, I mean, it's just going to fall right off. So now, oh, look at all this. I have to adjust his belt. I have to adjust his scarf. Man, it's like dressing a little mini-me. It's kind of annoying a little bit, but let's get through this and we'll worry about it later, as usual. And we still have to mess around with all these wires. So this is what he looks like so far. Now what we'll do is probably add the lightsaber into his right hand. And then again, we'll worry about the clothing after we're done. So what I did was I put the blaster and the severed arm on the base, and I'll have a better picture of it later. Here's the lightsaber that's wrapped up. It feels kind of lightweight. It doesn't light up. For the cost of the statue, I would have preferred it did light up. I think that would have been a little bit more interesting to me, and a little bit more like, oh wow, you know, this was a great value for the price thing. I'm not a big fan of the battery statues either. I mean, just give me a plug and an outlet, and so I can turn on and off without having to worry about batteries leaking and stuff. But This is a pretty thin piece of plastic, and I guess it just fits into this lightsaber, and we'll slide it into his hand. Again, doesn't light up, no batteries, no power adapter, nothing. And that just squeezes right into there. This lightsaber, although it does feel thin, it also does feel a little bit more dense, so I don't think it's as bendable and breakable. And I had to take off the arm to put the lightsaber in and put the arm back in. So here we're seeing some of the clothing that I have to adjust. His robe underneath needs a little bit of fine tuning. His scarf needs some fine tuning. I have to adjust it underneath the belt. There you can see some of the lightsaber. I'll get back to that. Then I have to adjust this wire. He's got some dust on his lower robe, which I guess would make sense since he's in a dusty environment. And here we see him next to some bananas, pineapple, and mangoes. And he's like defending them. If you come close to them, he'll chop off your arm. And this is as bright as I could get the picture. Here's his robe coming behind. I adjusted his hoodie. The base, you can see the severed arm, the blaster, his lightsaber, his pose. I could have done better with the robe. I'm just not very good at posing that stuff. And, I'm sure most of you people are better at doing that. It would take you some time and effort. All these little wires and, which direction should be flowing. So I think this is pretty much complete now. This is the Obi-Wan Mythos statue I mentioned earlier. This is one of my favorite pieces I have in my collection. If you can find it, I would highly encourage you to get one. If you're considering one Obi-Wan Mythos, any Obi-Wan piece, I would highly recommend this one over anything else. So here's the final conclusion. The cost is about $550. I give it a 3 out of 5. For not a light-up statue, I think it was kind of pricey for what it is. But if you're going to get it, I highly recommend getting an exclusive version. You might as well get the severed arm and the blaster. The realism, 4 out of 5. I think they did a good job with the portrait, all the clothing. Although the clothing was kind of a pain to do, I do think they did a good job with some of the painting, the details on the lower part of the robe, and again, his portrait is pretty cool. The resale value, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I don't know what this is going to do in the market in the future. If somebody's going to sell it on eBay or something, I would definitely get the exclusive version if you're thinking about maybe getting rid of it later down the road. Ease of setup, I gave it a 2 out of 5. I thought it was very difficult to set up. All the clothing did not really help with the ease of the setup. Maybe some of you have smaller fingers and can get in there better than I could to get the arms into the sockets. And honestly, I feel a little bit like it's going to fall at any moment, but maybe the magnets aren't strong enough, or maybe there's just some clothing still pinching it. But I gave it a 2 out of 5. It wasn't very easy for me. Number 5, this was a very hard decision to make. I spent a couple days thinking about whether this was a buy or a pass. For me personally, since I already have the Mythos, even though I know there's an entirely different era, that's like when he's younger and stuff, that is an absolute amazing statue. And if I had known about this one beforehand that was going to be this difficult setup, I would have passed on it. But if you don't have an Obi-Wan premium statue and you like that cantina scene, you like having this Panda's arm on the ground with that weird doctor guy with a big nose who was intruding on them and causing problems. I mean, I guess you can't recreate that scene any better than this statue. So I would say go for it if you like that scene and don't already have an Obi-Wan Kenobi premium format style statue. You have an empty spot on your shelf and you want to have this to complete your collection, I guess go for it. Just be prepared for the clothing part, because again, that was just a pain for me. I forgot to mention his shoes. His shoes are a little bit weird. They look like clogs to me. But hey, whatever. Everything worked out at the end for him, and well, not necessarily, but everything worked out for everybody at the end. Okay, so that would be it for this review. I hope it helped you make a decision as to whether you would like this statue or not. And please stay tuned. I have other statues that I'll be reviewing in a similar format. And I might even do some 6 scale. I got that director Krennic 6 scale recently, and he's a good character. I kind of liked him in Rogue One. And I think I will unbox him and do one of these reviews on him and pose him next to like a Death Trooper or something. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Have a good day. Bye.